don't move to New Orleans. Yes, I'm serious. Make sure you watch this video before you make any decisions about moving to New Orleans. Usually I shoot these out and about around town. I'm not in my office because of crime today. I'm actually in my office because the weather is literally awful outside. Like, it's so dark and it's just crazy, and you might hear thunder in the background, so bear with me. But done a lot of research on the information of whether you should move or whether you shouldn't. We're going to touch on crime today and several other things. I've got pages and pages of notes, so I'm totally just going to read these off to you guys after all this research and putting it together and realizing, okay, I can't memorize all this stuff. I usually memorize and try not to reference the notes too much. But today, you know what? We're just going to make it work. We've got bad weather. We've got notes. It's all good. I still have to get the information out to you. Now, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do. I talk about anything and everything New Orleans, Louisiana, and the surrounding areas. Also, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to like. It helps to let the algorithm know that the information is good to those people who are watching it. And also, if you think any friends or family can benefit from this, be sure to also share the videos. All right, so diving in. Don't move to New Orleans. So the first thing I want to talk about is the humidity and the weather. No pun intended, because I started the video talking about how terrible the weather is today. Now, one of the positive things about breast cancer and one of the positive things about having to wear a wig is, for the first time in my life, I don't have to worry about the humidity. My natural hair is curly and I try to straighten it, and then I would walk outside and it looks like I never did anything. I know some of y'all can feel me on that. So July and August typically have the humidity that's the less desirable, but lots of time throughout the year that humidity is a mess. So you might have to either just rock those curls, girls, or check out the wigs and see how that works, because not only are you gonna sweat, right, but you're gonna spend all that time straightening your hair and it is going to be irrelevant because humidity does not care about what your plans are. Now, the hottest time of year is July and August with the average temperature of 87 degrees. But it's not like 87 degrees in Arizona, and it's not like 87 degrees in California. It's 87 degrees in New Orleans with the humidity on top of that, which makes it feel like way, way, way hotter. Plus you're sticky and it's just literally gross and aggravating. So for those of you who enjoy cold, snowy weather and the winter wonderland, New Orleans is probably not the place for you to relocate. It almost never snows. On the very rare occasion that it does, it usually melts by morning. And if you're lucky enough for it to still be around by morning, you can literally try to make a snowman, but you can't even make a snowball because it's more like a slushy than it is beautiful, bouncy, light, airy snow. You're not gonna get that here. On the other hand, the spring and fall and winter months have much lower humidity levels, which make it more comfortable and enjoyable to be outdoors and gives us with curls a little bit of a break. The average temperature in January is 48 at the low and 63 at the high. Yes, as we're filming in December and we're filming in January, the weather on the days when it's not raining, it's really, really beautiful, and it's nice temperatures even in the winter. Now, let's talk a little bit about acreage and property. If you're looking for a home on acreage, you're not gonna find it in New Orleans. Yet another reason to not live there. Although there are some lots available with acreage, it is very, very, very uncommon, and it is very, very, very expensive if it does exist. Now, out of approximately 2,000 properties for sale in New Orleans right now, only about 60 have at least an acre. Only 15 have 5 acres, and only 5 have at least 10 acres. Yes, that's not very much. So if you want land, you're gonna need to move to some of the surrounding areas of New Orleans. And I've got some videos on that in some of those areas and what you can get in the different price points for those different homes. So if you're searching for acreage, nope, don't move to New Orleans. All right, we cannot talk about the negative of New Orleans without talking about the roads. Oh my gosh, that's so aggravating. You could literally call this like the pothole heaven, because some of these darn potholes are like the size of your freaking car. They are enormous. And while I love going to New Orleans and going to Wild Lotus Yoga, such great yoga classes, love it, love it, love it. Not kidding you, so many issues with the potholes getting down there. And because the streets are so narrow and you have to park on the street, I'm not making this up. Not once, not twice, but 3 different times people ran into my parked car. So I come out of yoga feeling so wonderful and relaxed and blissful and ready to take on the world, just to walk out and be like, holy, oh my gosh, yes, someone hit my car again. So in addition to the potholes, there's not a lot of parking. Now, past flooding has caused many issues to the roads just from the weight of the water. So, hey, shout out to Latoya. If you want to do something useful with yourself, why don't you focus on fixing the roads? That'd be really helpful. And then maybe the next video could be called Definitely Move to New Orleans, and not Don't Move to New Orleans. So we cannot talk about New Orleans without talking about hurricanes and flooding. There's just something different here about the South and the people and the friendliness and just the inner ties between the large families and everybody knowing your mama and knowing your daddy. And it's just not so easy to just uproot and completely move, even though hurricanes can be so difficult and deadly and damaging. Now, some of the previous hurricanes have given the city and its residents knowledge to best prepare for the future storms, but nonetheless, it's a huge con for this area of the United States. Hurricanes not only bring high winds and heavy rain, but can also bring the threat of power outages, as well as minor and major flooding, which also causes extra expense because you need flood insurance on many, many homes. And with the recent changes to flood insurance, it's so not an inexpensive thing, which can actually impact your approval and how much house that you can afford if you are thinking of moving to the area. Now, with New Orleans being very low in elevation in relation to sea level, yes, we're actually below sea level, and human interference has actually caused the city to shrink even lower. Now, when New Orleans was being constructed, they ran out of good land to make more room. So engineers actually drained swamplands around the area so they could continue to expand. So not only we're below sea level, we're sinking, and we're basically built on the swamp. Yeah, you do actually have to pause for a moment there because it sounds kind of crazy, but it's actually true. Now, thankfully, the levee system is much stronger since Hurricane Katrina, and the drainage in New Orleans has actually very much improved. But depending upon how much water the city gets at one point in time, sometimes the pumps still really struggle to keep up. Now, overall, the city's much better prepared and very thankfully have not been devastated with flooding like Katrina since Katrina, because we learned so much from that just horrible experience. Now, there are many neighborhoods that do not have high risk for flooding, and there are also many homes that are built up. So you can rest assured that there are some things to choose from and some safer areas from flooding than others in New Orleans. Now, we can't talk about New Orleans and not talk about the bugs. Listen, shout out to California because it is so nice there to have great weather, no humidity, and no bugs. And then you come to New Orleans and it's literally the complete opposite of that. We've got fire ants, red ants. We've got mosquitoes. We've got cockroaches. Oh my gosh. I would literally rather a snake than a cockroach or a worm. Worms are like so gross. Anyway, and then we also have termites as well. You've got termites that swarm at different seasons. Oh my gosh, it just makes my skin crawl. It is so disgusting. And then of course you've got the mosquitoes and the gnats. Oh my gosh, the gnats. With the mosquitoes, I mean, let's say that you're enjoying the beautiful weather. And let's say maybe it's not so humid that day and you're outside partying and hanging out with family and friends. Everything's going all great, and then the mosquitoes come out. And then you think everything is wonderful and you go home, and the next day you are literally covered in bug bites. Now, What I found works is actually alcohol, putting alcohol on them, and it really helps to cut out the itchiness. But anyway, mosquitoes suck, as do cockroaches, as do termites. And there's no shortage of any of those things in New Orleans for sure. Now, with all that being said, thankfully New Orleans has a mosquito, termite, and rodent control board that work hard to monitor these things and try to prevent these bugs from interfering with people's lives. But it is nature and we can't get rid of all of it. But thanks to their hard work, it is definitely a little more pleasurable. Now, let's talk about something positive for a minute. The friendliness. Like I said, it's not so easy for people from this area to just up and move because, yes, Louisianans are so friendly. Getting stopped to chat is not out of the ordinary. Telling someone hi and getting hi back is not out of the ordinary. Having someone pay for your coffee to pay it forward, not out of the ordinary. Southern hospitality is a real thing. It really does exist, and it is super, super nice. I really enjoy that part. Now, in a nutshell, be prepared to have a potential conversation with random people at the grocery store, in your neighborhood, while you're on a walk, while you're at sporting events, while you're out shopping at restaurants and or bars, or even out on the water. People are not shy here, and I love that about the area. I would not be doing this video justice if we did not talk about public schools. And this is a big section where I have a lot of notes here. So New Orleans has a history of having less favorable public schools, and that's certainly for sure. But on a positive note, things are getting better. Many parents in the area pay for their children to attend private school in New Orleans because the majority of public schools have low ratings and low test scores. 1/4 of New Orleans children currently attend private school, opting out of the public education system altogether. Now, before Katrina, the New Orleans school district was the worst, yes, the worst in Louisiana, academically and financially bankrupt. Can you get any worse than that? Also apparently you can, because they were also under federal investigation, ineffective, and essentially basically corrupt. Half of its students attended a school that earned less than 50 points on a 200-point report card, and only 54% graduated from high school. That is horrible, absurd, unacceptable, and completely ridiculous. Now, when Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, schools were completely devastated and were closed for the remainder of the school year. Now think about that. Hurricane Katrina happened August 29th. And schools were closed for the remainder of the school year. School had actually just started. Or actually we're about to start, because they keep moving the date. Sometimes at the end of August, sometimes the beginning of September, but basically a whole entire school year was missed. Now, on a positive note, this opened up the opportunity for change and supports the fact that I believe that so many things, even the horrible things, have something beneficial hidden underneath, and everything happens for a reason. Now, after Katrina, the Recovery School District seized 4/5 of the city schools, and the majority of the remaining schools went to charter schools. The city eliminated traditional student assignment by home address and actually instituted a universal school choice, allowing any student to apply to any school. This was one of the biggest transformations in U.S. education. One of the biggest transformations in U.S. education. Now the public schools have come a very long way since Katrina, but there is still so much more to be done. Many New Orleans public high school students average less than a 17.5 out of 36 on the ACT. It's just terrible. It really is. That's too low to even get admitted to any of the city's four-year public universities. For progress to resume, we really need the public schools to have more accountability, more strong community engagement. Now, I get it. It's going to be hard to engage with something you're so disappointed in, but it's going to take the community coming together to really get us over the rest of these hurdles, and it's also going to take money. School funding depends on sales, hospitality, oh my God, hospitality, there you go, taxes, and oil and gas revenue, and all of these things are really suffering right now. In New Orleans, as well as the majority of the nation, children are losing ground because of the pandemic's educational and personal disruptions. And children in New Orleans have lost even more ground from recent storms damaging schools and causing power outages. Can you imagine being a child right now? We really need to help them with positivity, because it's hard to stay positive when so many negative things are happening. And school and friends and community and education are what these children need. And we're lacking in all of those things right now. So we all have to take and put a little extra effort to help these kids stay positive, help them get through high school, and help them move on to college. Now, with all that being said, although the average public school rating in New Orleans is on the lower end, there are public schools in New Orleans with a 9 out of 10, yes, and some 10 out of 10 ratings. And this is from pre-K, obviously I can't talk today, all the way up through 12th grade, including special education. I'm gonna give a shout out because they are definitely worthy of mentioning. Just to name a few: the Audubon Charter School, Lake Forest Elementary Charter School, Benjamin Franklin High School. So shout out to them for their great ratings, and maybe those are some schools that you can check out if you do decide to move to New Orleans. All right, we're nearing the end and just a few more things to talk about. Thank you for watching this video and deciding if you want to move to New Orleans. I think we've covered a lot of positive, but also a lot of negative things, and this is something you definitely need to have watched before you make the decision of moving or not. Now, the next thing about New Orleans is that there is a flat landscape. Yes, if you're looking for hills, you are not gonna get them here. We are so flat, we're below sea level. I mean, my gosh, there's no mountains, there's no hills. The highest thing you're gonna find over here is probably a crawfish mound, seriously. Yeah, I mean, we're called the Crescent City for a reason, right? The other thing to talk about is traffic. Now, I do have to say, on a positive note to New Orleans, I find these days the traffic over there is less than the traffic on the North Shore, and that used to be flipped. So kudos to them with not such horrible traffic, but compared to other big cities, New Orleans traffic really isn't that bad. I mean, you're not having to commute 3 and 4 hours like you're having to do in some of these other places. Most of the time, the traffic really isn't that bad, but rush hour can be a little bit brutal. Try to avoid traffic during large events as well as rush hour. But you know what? Now there's so many Audible books, there's so many great podcasts out there, and of course there's always music. So if you do find yourself in any of those times that are not the best, not the most advantageous, put on one of those things, try not to have any road rage, enjoy the quiet moments as you're commuting at that time, because you know what, there's not enough quiet moments in life, so take advantage of it. Now, we have to talk about crime. We absolutely have to. Now, I have to say, when I go to the French Quarter and I'm hanging out across the lake, which I love to do with my friends and we do frequently, I do feel safe in the areas that I'm in. Knock on wood somewhere, you know, I hope that continues, but I do feel safe in those particular areas. Now, I know that there are areas to avoid where I would not quite feel so safe. And you have to determine where that is for you. Now, regardless of whether you're feeling safe or you're not, regardless of whether you're in New Orleans or some of those other big cities, you have to be diligent. Be aware of your surroundings. When you're getting gas, lock your car doors. When you're driving, lock your doors. When you're out and about, don't be distracted on your phone. Look up. Where are you going? Look up in those parking lots. Look up in those shopping centers. When you pass people, don't be looking at your darn phone. Don't look like you could be a good target, right? Be aware. Make sure that when people are passing you, you look every one of them in the eye and let them know and acknowledge that you have seen them. Do things to protect yourself. It never hurts to attend any type of self-defense classes. They can absolutely only help. Now, as with many big cities, they all have crime. Before moving to New Orleans, make sure you do research specific areas and neighborhoods because you want to ensure that you are gonna be safe. Everyone is different, just like I said. So where I feel safe, you might not, and vice versa. Find out what works for you and where you feel the most comfortable. Now I'm gonna wrap up this video talking about the food and talking about the fun. Because although you can see there's lots of negative things about New Orleans, just like lots of other big cities, we have no shortage of amazing food and we have no shortage of amazing fun. There are so many restaurants to choose from, so many bars to choose from, so many parades to attend, so many festivals to attend, just lots of things that you can do outdoors, exposure to other people, communication, just having a good time, interacting with others, being social, being sociable, all the things that we need as humans. And to wrap this up and come full circle, those are all things that you are not gonna have a shortage of if you do decide to move to the New Orleans area. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you found it useful. Please make sure you comment. I'd love to hear from you. And I look forward to seeing you around town.